Welcome to Season 3, Episode 13 of the Subway Conversation Chat. Now that we are the halfway point of the season, I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and let's talk some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with my co-host, Joe Dallio. So, without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe. How's it going?
It is going great. How you doing tonight?
Good.
Good. You could see I'm not in my normal location here. Again, an unexpected trip to my parents here. A very good trip, I must say. And so I am at their house. Again, people always ask, well, where are they? It's very hard to explain. Basically, the middle of nowhere here in central New York, just between Binghamton and Albany is what I tell people. It gives people a picture. Maybe, I don't know, an hour south of Cooperstown. Perhaps that will give you some perspective as well. So far, so good with the Wi-Fi. It looks like everything's going to go well. So I'm looking forward to another great show.
Okay, so would you like to start out this week with some Mets news? We just talked about the big news of the day. So why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, and I'm going to try to switch over to some notes here. If you lose me, let me know, and I'll come back. But I'm going to start by saying the F word. Finally, finally, it happened. All right. The inevitable, the must, the had to happen. Again, Carlos Mendoza is a great guy. He's done some good things with this organization. Is it all his fault that this team is where they are? Of course it's not. Okay. There's a lot of people to blame. There's a lot of negative things that have happened that are not all his fault, but you got to start there. You know, you need some motivation. You need a guy that can motivate players. I might have said this last week. You know, you need guys that can motivate. You need guys that can make positive changes on a team. You need guys to make the right decisions. And for the most part, he was not doing that. And so, again, as good of a guy as he is, perhaps he'll get another chance somewhere else in a less stressful environment, in an environment where the payroll is not overinflated. Okay, but this is not where he belonged. This is not the group that he belonged with. And so finally, the inevitable necessary happened. Okay, and again, I wish him the best, but this had to happen. Now, as far as the choice to replace him and Andy Green, I question that choice a little bit, just because I'm reading some things here that are basically saying this is just a half-year interim thing. I'm reading some things that saying he's going back to a front office somewhere, that he's definitely not going to be the manager next year. So I kind of question that. I would have rather had somebody come back that maybe would have had a chance to prove themselves with this team and perhaps make a difference. He may prove himself and make a difference, but there's no guarantees he's coming back here. In fact, that seems like it's not the plan. So, I kind of question that. And, they played some games with him, and it seems like nothing much has changed here. So I don't know. I think we're going to pretty much experience same old here, and we'll see what happens. So now I'm going to try to maneuver here. So let me know if you lose me. So that was the big news.
Joe?
Did you lose me there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So the Mets trading David Peterson is what I was saying. As far as the other big news, they got Cole Mathis, which is a third base prospect from the Cubs. So I think, honestly, the Mets made out in this deal. Nothing against David Peterson. He's pitched, he's proven himself. He's had a rough year and a half here. And I think the Cubs, the Cubs have had some injuries in their pitching rotation. So they could definitely use some depth there and a guy that's got some major league experience. I'm just afraid for them that Peterson's going to be doing more harm than good based on his recent performance in the last year, let's say. So I think the Mets got the better of this deal. They're getting a good prospect here, especially since it looks like what's his name, Bo Bichette, is not going to be with the team going forward. So, I think the Mets got the better of this deal here. And again, I'd love to see David Peterson help the Cubs. He's in a situation now where he's in a pennant race and he can make a difference. But we'll see about that. So that was another big move that the Mets, had made. So other than that, really some injury news. Obviously, getting their shortstop back here is certainly making a difference in Francisco Lindor. He had a home run last night, and having him back certainly helps. They've lost Marcus Semien for 4 to 6 weeks due to an injury there, and trying to think what else now off the top of my head, because I don't have my notes to go on here. Getting Tyrone Taylor back as well. Well, again, just depth that they could use there as well. So that's basically it. Again, the big news: Mendoza going, again, questionable replacement. Also, David Peterson going. That could be the start of a mass exodus. Again, when do you start this mass exodus? If you can get some good deals before the trade deadline, I suggest you go there, simply because there's a lot of guys that can help other teams blow the thing up. We've talked about this before. Blow it up, start over, go with this youth movement. And again, some of these young guys already making impacts, a la AJ Ewing, a la Carson Bench. We'll talk more about some of their contributions in a little bit. But basically, blow the whole thing up. Start now if you can get good deals for these guys. Again, I think they already got this good deal for Peterson, and get some of these other guys out of here, not because they're bad influences, but again, you can get some good prospects for them and maybe even get them now. Because even asking some of these guys, they've seemed to have waved the white flag already. And again, let's just blow it up and start over. So that's basically what I got to start with you. I know your team's struggling a little bit, but I still think you got some optimism over there. What's happening in Yankees land there, Jamie?
We do still have optimism, because it's still really a two-way race right now between us and Tampa. As of right now, I don't see anybody else really catching us really for second or first. So, but anyway, I'm going to start with the Yankees injury report, and we have some encouraging news on that front. As outfielder Trent Grisham, who is dealing with the right hamstring strain, he was with the team in Boston over the weekend, engaging in batting practice, base running, and fielding, quote, with an eye towards ramping it up next week, manager Aaron Boone said. A minor league rehab assignment is probable, and his expected return July.
Okay.
Next, we have third baseman Ryan McMahon with a paratonsillar absence. He was held back from all physical activity for 72 hours after a procedure on his throat eased his pain on June 24th. Oh, so yeah, he got his so looks like he got his tonsils out. So he is on medication and will rest before getting the green light to begin baseball activities. His expected return also July. Next, right fielder, all rise for Aaron Judge, as he has a stress fracture of his first rib on the right side. Stress fracture on the first rib on the right side, that's no fib. Anyway, while he has been on rest, the talented outfielder will be assessed around the first or second week of July. Judge's future actions will be evaluated for next phase. Expected return August. We have a story here. Why Aaron Boone isn't panicking after Yanks were swept by the Red Sox. Tell me if you heard this one before, Joe. Yankee fans panic during a stretch, but Aaron Boone always stays positive, right? Like he always does. Anyway, With the New York Yankees only 3-7 in their last 10 games, they were recently swept by the Red Sox as well. The sweep was completed with a walk-off one-run single in the 10th inning to win, 5-4. The sweep was a microcosm of a poor showing by the Yanks offense, as they were outscored 21-9 when they are ranked 7th in the MLB in runs, 409, and 3rd in team OPS this season. Prior to the series opener on Thursday, the Bronx Bombers led in the AL East over Tampa by 3 games and are now 48-36 and a game and a half behind the Rays. Probably going to be 48-37 after tonight,
Right.
But this isn't anything Boone hasn't dealt with before, as he is sure his club is ready to bounce back. The ninth-year skipper spoke to the media during Sunday's postgame and was nothing short of confident with this message. And we only have one quote this week, Joe. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, you got to love this stuff, Boone said, quote, "You got to eat this stuff up. It is a sickness. You got to be like Disturbed. You got to be down with the sickness." Anyway, that's what the grind is. We got a really good freaking team. You know, we played crappy on this trip. Kind of feels bad, kind of pissed off, right? But it's what we do. It's what you sign up for. We'll dig ourselves out of it and get it going here in short order.
Well, definitely quality, not quantity with the quotes here. Only one quote, but that's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks. Anyway, New York now has the chance to flush the Red Sox series behind and start to begin a 6-game home stretch with a 3-game set against the Detroit Tigers on Monday, which already happened. They lost yesterday, 7-3. And then one more after tonight, and then they start a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins on Thursday. So, Joe, how awesome is it that to have a manager like Aaron Boone, who is most of the time positive, even after recently being swept by the Red Sox?
Yeah, you know me, I love the positivity. You know, he's got to have that, you know, and keep his team motivated. And usually he does a very good job of doing that. I think he knows the right times to maybe not be so positive too. So if things get to a point where he needs to, you know, say something maybe that's not so positive, I think he would do that too. But yeah, I love the positivity. And again, it's not time to panic. You're halfway through the season. You're still in first place. You're still very, very likely to you know, make the postseason. I think
we're
they're
in second now, Joe. We're a game and a half out.
Right. I think they're very likely to win the division because I told you a couple of weeks ago, I think Tampa Bay is going to regress at some point. And I just think, you know, they're not as good as their record. I mean, they're still playing great baseball. So, I mean, they've proven that they belong here. I would be very, very surprised if the Yankees don't win this division. I mean, they have probably, you know, about 75 games left, give or take. So I would be shocked if they don't win this division. So every team goes through it. Every team has their slumps. The Yankees are having theirs now. Hurts a little more when it's the Red Sox that knock them around too. But again, I think he can definitely afford to be positive because this team has talent. This team has amazing depth, especially in the pitching rotation and in the bullpen. So there's no reason to panic, and I think Boone knows that. So definitely, I like the tone, and I like it. I like him keeping things positive.
But anyway, how do the Yankees always seem to struggle with the Red Sox in the regular season, though? Because remember, they eliminated the Sox in the wild card playoff round last year.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are one of those teams, you know, no knock on the Rays because, again, like I said, they're proving that they belong here and that they're probably going to stay. I do expect some regression there. The Red Sox are the opposite. I think the Red Sox are better than their record indicates. They're starting to play like it. And of course, they're going to get motivated and get up for games that are against their biggest rivals. So I think this is just going to propel them further. I expected a letdown yesterday against Washington. I said, well, the Yankees are out of town. it's kind of like when a football team wins a big game against their arch rivals. If these days, let's say the Bills win a big game against the Patriots, and then they play, I don't know. I'm trying, the Las Vegas Raiders afterwards. You would expect a letdown and a potential loss in that series, in that game. I was expecting that from the Red Sox yesterday playing the Nationals. All right, they just swept the Yankees, but now, they're playing a lesser team here. Maybe expecting a little bit of a letdown. That did not happen. So I think the Red Sox are better than their record indicates, especially getting up for the big games against the Yankees. And so it just kind of manifested itself.
Well, this is something you don't want to be positive for. And you don't want to get up for. It's Jazz Chisholm again. He was up to his being Jazz again. But
I saw that.
Yeah. Jazz Chisholm Jr. gets ejected after arguing a check swing call. But we are going to talk about how him arguing that check swing call may have another rule change that's being tested in the minors, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
The Jazz Chisholm Jr. experience continues to be a wild thrill ride every night. The New York Yankees played on Sunday night against rival Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. During the sixth inning, Chisholm was at the plate against Red Sox starter Sonny Gray. Sonny 50 Shades of Gray, as Yankee fans remember. It was more Gray than it was Sonny, him starting with the Yankees. Anyway, on a 2-2 pitch from Gray, Chisholm attempted to check his swing. However, home plate umpire Adam Himari ruled that Chisholm had gone around and called them out on strike 3. But an irate Jazz, who thought the third base umpire should have made the call around, was ejected by that same home plate umpire. A check swing call cannot be challenged in Major League Baseball via ABS or standard instant replay yet, though, Joe. And I'm going to tell you why it's yet. Because this year in the minors, batters can use an ABS check swing challenge system to challenge balls and strikes. So could that be coming to the MLB in the next couple of years? Maybe, if they're testing it out in the minors. We'll see.
I hope it does.
Yeah. So, Joe, how come Jazz Chisholm just can't help himself from the dramatics?
That I can't explain. Now, I'll give him this fact that it was a bogus call. I mean, first of all, he didn't swing. Second of all, because I was watching this game live at the time. Second of all, it should have been verified. The fact that the guy refused to do it, I could see why Jazz was upset. Now, on the other hand, that does not give him the excuse to get him kicked out of a game that his team needed him, and he's got to think about stuff like that. And again, these are mistakes you can't make as a veteran player in the middle of a pennant race like this. So, that I criticize him for, but the other parts I criticize the umpires here. Again, and I certainly hope we get that rule, Jamie, because these days, first of all, I watch old replays and old games from like 70s, 80s. And these guys are making 3/4 revolutions here, and they're not calling swings. Now a guy blinks with the bat in his hand and they call him a swing. It's just ridiculous that everything is called a swing at this point. But again, this should have been verified. This should have been checked. So I understand him being upset about the fact that it was not. But again, you got to act like a veteran player here, especially with these young guys now that he's a model for. He's a role model and a mentor for some of these guys that they're looking up to him. So those are things that somebody who's being looked up to and who's supposed to be, one of the leaders of the team cannot allow themselves to get themselves in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And how soon do you think the ABS check swing system used in the minors this year will come to the MLB? It may have to come quicker now after that.
Yeah, I'm hoping 2028 It won't in 2027 because we're not going to have a baseball season then. But I'm hoping as soon as 2028.
Anyway, the final. So we're gonna move on. The final stretch of June will decide Anthony Volpe's future in pinstripes. The Yankees' all-star caliber squad is currently on the injured list. They have suffered major losses, including Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Max Fried, and Trent Grisham, aka Young Reggie Jackson. Yet there's still that possibility the Yankees could win 100 games.
Mm-hmm.
Even after recently being swept by the Red Sox, they are only a game and a half behind the overachieving Tampa Bay Rays. We just talked about that, for first place in the AL East.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that have stepped up in their place need to continue to step up, with one of them being Anthony Volpe. After 117 plate appearances and just 31 games, he has held up his end of the bargain with the Yankees. Of course, this is a small sample size, and given Volpe's track record, it's hard to trust this will last, but he does deserve some credit for how he has played. This year, Volpe is batting a career-high 246 with a 734 OPS and a 112 walk-run combined, or WRC plus. The shortstop has also played improved defense this season. Despite some blunders and a below-average arm, Volpe is in the league's 80th percentile with getting people out. Anyway, Volpe is playing for his job on the Yankees, or possibly to up his trade value at the August 3rd deadline. Volpe might be attractive to teams such as the Dodgers, and get this, Joe, the Rockies, a regressing team. That would be weird. Well, no, actually an improving team that's regressing, because they're like this year's Chicago White Sox, where they were one of the worst teams in baseball, but they're slowly getting better, kind of like how the White Sox were, with a bunch of young players. The Rockies, I think, are a year behind in their plan. So, anyway, which this could help the Yankees add another big arm for their bullpen, I think, if they were to trade him. So if Volpe hypothetically is dealt to the Rockies, it won't help him for championship dreams. Not at all. But he may be plugged in as a starting shortstop immediately, and they can move him to second base if Ethan Holiday celebrate is called up from the minors. Joe, how about Anthony Volpe finally hitting for almost league average, hitting 246? That's a career high for him. He was batting 267 or 277 at one point.
Yeah, he's got some pretty good stats. I mean, that OPS is about average, right? What did you say the WRC plus was?
112.
Okay, which is above average slightly. So, his stats are pretty good here. And again, he's making a case for himself. And I think he can help somebody, especially maybe a team like the Rockies, like you're saying, a young group of people that this guy's got serious experience, and postseason experience that he can bring to a young team that maybe develops in a couple of years. So stay tuned on that. I doubt, he's going to end up staying with the Yankees long term, right? I think we seem to agree on that. But he could definitely help somebody, again, especially with statistics like this. Maybe they're not where we expected them to be for him at this point of his career, but they're certainly not bad. Again, OPS is right around the average, WRC plus slightly above. He could help somebody, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, whether it's now or, again, trade deadline, or whether it's the next baseball season.
Yeah, and if he gets traded, though, there is a young prospect right now with the Yankees who we talk about often, and even though once he recovers from the seventh day injury list, may finally get a shot, his September call-up, by the name of George Lombard Jr.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard about that guy somewhere. I don't know. I'll have to figure out where. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. But yeah, maybe that'll be his opportunity at that point.
But here's the thing, though, Joe. You know why certain guys actually aren't getting called up as fast this year, and if you notice, a lot of guys aren't being as rushed this year as they are in the past. And I think Jeremy B, you've heard of Jeremy B, right? Smoking Jeremy B on open mic night.
Yeah.
He does his other show. He was explaining that there's a rule that in case of a potential lockout, if you make a September call up, they're considered MLB players. So they won't be, but that means they won't be allowed to play in the minors next year. But if there's a lockout and you don't call them up for September, they get an extra year to play in the minors while the lockout's going on. I wonder if you knew that.
Okay. See, I think that's a great point, and I didn't even think about that. Now, I mean, the Yankees are in a situation where guys aren't getting called up because they got so much depth at the major league level that they can afford to be patient with these guys. We've talked about this on past shows, and that's a fact. But it's a great point there that I didn't even think of, to be honest with you, that, we're going to have a minor league season next year, and they want these guys to qualify. And guys like Lombard Jr., it would be a perfect situation for them to get an extra year of experience. And so many other players, that great point. There are other teams as well are going to be patient with these guys and not call them up potentially just to give them that extra experience down in the minors.
If you think about it, Joe, I think this lockout, how much it could obviously help the MLB if they get rid of the big contracts and they do what the NHL did and only do like 5-year deals for free agents. And then obviously, I think I told you about the draft overall, which you like, not allowing high schoolers. Not only that, but I think this lockout could could save minor league baseball like from its current format. Yeah,
I agree with you on that. And sometimes these things have positive impacts. I say the NHL lockout, where they lost an entire season, saved the sport, because longtime fans like me and millions of others had abandoned it and would have abandoned it if it kept at that pace, and now the game is better than it's ever been.
And don't forget, the second lockout saved the sport too, remember? Because that's when they got rid of the 15-year deals.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, really the 2005, 2004, 2005 lockout. But what I'm saying is not that I want one. I'm hoping they can figure all this out before we get to next season and have a 2027 MLB season. If we don't, again, then hopefully it's something that will change the sport for the good and make it better in the long term.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember, Adam always says that baseball was dead the first couple of years coming out of the lockout because no one was watching. And then obviously Home Run Derby, changed that. But you know why I think this one's different. You know why? Because I think everybody's actually anticipating a lockout. Nobody expected 94 to end the season. Like, nobody expected that. This one, people actually kind of know it's coming. That's the difference.
That's a good point. Yeah, that was a shock for everybody. And nobody thought that was going to happen. And when it did, it's like, oh my goodness, it actually did. And when it actually canceled the postseason, that was even worse. So, yeah, you're right. Everybody knows this is coming. Hopefully it doesn't. Maybe a miracle happens. But, we're not going to think about that now, obviously, because we got a great season upon us that, again, talking backstage, neither of us can believe we're halfway through it. But we got a great season on our hands right now. And I guess we'll stick to talking about that.
And so what I was going to say, after I talked about Volpe, Joe, how do you think this improves his stock at the trade deadline, his value, if he keeps it up?
Yeah, definitely improves it. And it's going to help him, but it's going to help the Yankees too, because if he continues to play well, they're going to get better returns and maybe better prospects or whatever they get in return. So, or, a valuable rental player for the postseason push. So it's going to be helpful for not only Volpe, but even for the Yankees, because they're going to get a greater return for him.
You were referring to Skubal because he's the rental player.
Yeah, could be.
I'm actually I'm gonna be getting into that later in the show. I'm glad you mentioned him as a rental player because I got a thing about that. But Let's turn it back over to you, Joe, for some more Mets news. Take it away.
All right. So again, nothing much really to talk about here. The Mets have lost 9 out of their last 10 games. So that's what we're saying. Nothing much changing here with the manager situation. And the last 4 that they've lost, all by 1 run. Now, they were talking about this. I was watching the game before we came on here. And I knew the Mets were one of the worst teams in the league for 1-run games. They're like 17 and forget what the stat was. No, 7 and 16, something like that. But just the worst team in the league as far as 1-run games. They were playing the Phillies the other day, who was the best team in 1-run games. The Mets are, Gary Cohn said this on the broadcast tonight. This is the worst Mets team as far as 1-run games ever. The last time the Mets were this bad in 1-run games was 1974, they said, like over 50 years ago. And that was an under 500 team. That was before this, the worst they were with 1-run games. So one of the big reasons they're losing. Also, another observation the other night, they left like 13 or 14 guys in scoring position in one of the games against the Phillies there I was watching. Just, you cannot win major league games when you are that bad at hitting in clutch situations. And it's not only that game, it's been all year. So, again, we were talking about keeping things positive before. Again, I'm not going to complain too much. I mean, those facts are just what they are. And again, just one of the reasons, or a few of the reasons, that this team is as bad as it is. Now, Mets were outscored 44-30 this week. So, whereas hitting was the biggest problem, and it still is, as I just pointed out, starting pitching has been a big issue lately. And they're getting smacked around, especially early in games here. So that's certainly not helping the cause. I mean, they played 8 games this week because of a doubleheader, but 44 runs in 8 games. We're talking 5.5 per game. So certainly not helping. Even some of their reliable relievers are getting hit harder now. All except a guy named Weaver here, who's gone. They showed it on tonight's game. 23 straight innings without giving up a run. So some guys, especially him, just top notch. But really, pitching has been the issue. Now, again, going with the positive here, and the youth movement here. AJ Ewing over 1,000 as far as OPS with a couple of home runs. Juan Soto, again, over 1,000 OPS. Not really producing, though. That's a little bit of a concern. Soto only had like 1 RBI, I believe, this week. So as much as he's getting on base, and as much as, again, the OPS is high, perhaps a little bit more in the production department there would certainly help. Now, other guys, Francisco Alvarez continues to hit the ball hard, maybe not getting the results. He did have a couple of RBIs. Same with Bo Bichette, a very emotional game last night as he played his first game in Toronto after playing with the Blue Jays for 7 years. So I thought he handled that extremely well. Hit the ball hard. One encouraging thing for the Mets is they have been hitting the ball hard. Last night, it was just unbelievable. The 5 hardest hit balls in the game by both the Mets and the Blue Jays were all outs. And usually those things tend to equal out. Even tonight, again, I was watching the first hour of the game before we came on here. The Mets did have some really hard hit balls that were just caught, that were long balls that didn't carry, whatever. So if they can continue to hit like that, again, the things might regress to the mean a little bit. I always talk about that, how, things tend to average out over time. And so if they can keep hitting the ball as hard as they are in the last few games, that should happen for them. So hopefully it does. Now, pitching, Freddie Peralta had one of the worst starts of his career in his previous game. Definitely a nice comeback this past game, went 5 2/3 without giving up a run, and was definitely more Freddie Peralta-like. But he's one of those guys that, again, nothing against him. Hopefully he's somebody they can trade sooner than later. Not because he's a bad guy or a bad pitcher, but again, just getting the maximum return. Again, Bichette, he's saying he's probably not going to come back to the Mets. And it seems like the whole Major League Baseball world knows that. As soon as possible, let's see what you can get for him and make a move. You don't have to wait for the trade deadline. So that is the question. Again, bringing up some of these minor league guys, like you just said. Do you wait? Do you keep them down and not call them up come September? A, because you're going to be out of the pennant race. B, because, again, you want to give them some more experience here. And they had called up some guys earlier in the season that weren't ready for prime time yet. Now they get some more experience down there as well. So hopefully, again, these hard hits and everything and these players that have been playing well continue. So now the Mets are officially 35-50. And I think that they said the last time, there's only a couple of times that the Mets have had 50 losses after 85 games. And so 2018 was one of them, and 1995 was the other one. And I definitely remember that 95 team. That was a team that had a lot of young players that were starting to mesh together. And about 3-4 years later, they were playoff bound or playoff in playoff contention anyway. So again, let the young guys play. You're going to probably have to play some of these overpriced veterans that you don't trade away throughout the season again, so you can keep the guys in the minors. But it's now even they're, I believe, double digits or close out of the wild card. So you're not going anywhere, and just make the right moves when you can. Don't wait for the trade deadline. Get as much back as you can return in young players, and let's start going in that direction. So that's basically it. Kind of, again, hard to be positive. If these guys can play hard and, again, they make the right decisions, I think you have a general manager here whose job is on the line. Again, part of me thinks they're too stupid to let him go. Part of me thinks he should have been let go already. But prove yourself now. Show us that you can maybe put together the right kind of team here and make the right kind of moves. If he doesn't get a good return with this trade deadline and he's still here at the end of the season or at the start of the next time they play baseball, then this team is sadder than we think. If he maybe makes a turnaround and gets some great returns, all right, then maybe he can stay for a little bit and get more of a chance. But that's basically where we are at this point, Jamie. And again, trying to be as positive as I can. And so I'll send it back to you for more Yankees news.
Well, hey, it's baby steps, and it just started with firing the manager, Joe. So, I mean, you gotta hang in there. That's the first, baby step they got to take.
Yeah, like I said backstage, and hopefully in the beginning of the show, it's a great first step. Mm-hmm. So, definitely, and I agree with you, Jamie. We'll take baby steps. Yeah. Just show me that you're interested in making the right decisions for this team and getting them to where they need to be.
Because hey, what's the definition of insanity? We all know what it is, right?
Yeah,
doing the same thing over and expecting different results. And I'm glad they finally realized that, the definition of insanity ran its course, starting with the manager.
Right, and I'm hoping the GM now knows that his job is on the line and he makes smart decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So anyway, Joe, let's take a look at Down on the Farm, as Michael Kay would say on his broadcast. Mm-hmm. When he's not arguing with Larry David about how he can talk into the remote and find the Yankee game. That's a funny commercial. Yeah. Anyway, oh, that Larry David. Anyway, we're going to start out with the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. They lost 5-4 to Indianapolis Indians, the only team who's survived cancel culture with that name. Isn't that interesting?
Wait, there's a team in Cleveland called the Indians, isn't there? No, I call them the Indians. I know there's not.
I know.
I'm hanging on to that.
I know. But at least the Indianapolis team, so far they've beaten the cancel culture for that.
Right.
Anyway, we're gonna start out with second baseman. Hey Marco Luciano. Hey Marco. He was 2 for 3 with 2 home runs with 3 RBIs, a walk, a strikeout, and a throwing error. He produced half the hits and all the RBI, all the ribbles, but the rest of the offense didn't do much. We have DH Yankel Fernandez, aka Mr. I just stood there while the ball went, and I allowed a game-winning inside the park 2-run home run because of that. Again, I've never seen that in any level of baseball. I saw that on my computer. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's one level away from the major leagues.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and nothing really changed here for there. He was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts and grounded into a double play. That was quick. Okay. Next we have catcher Garrett, my favorite Martin. 0 for 4 with a strikeout. 3, we have Tyler Hardman. He was 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Starting pitcher Brendan Beck. You're going to like this, Joe. He went 7 innings in a minor league game. Not the majors, the minors. Can you believe that? 7 innings? They barely even go 5 in a minor league game.
Did I just wake up in 1975 or something?
But he allowed 5 hits, a run, an earned run, and a walk, but he had 5 strikeouts. So anyway, now we're going to talk about Double-A Somerset Patriots. Game 2, starting pitcher Ben. The name is here. The Hess truck's here. Ben Hess. He pitched 4 2/3 innings with a hit, a run, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and a home run allowed. But that was his only hit permitted. It was a solo shot in the 3rd, and they built his arm up to 65 pitches since he was hurt, and but even with that build-up, Joe, he's got his fastball at 96 to 97 miles an hour, and he's still in Double-A.
Okay.
That means he could probably reach triple digits by the time he makes his big league debut, or even in Triple-A, he could reach triple digits. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then third baseman, we have Josh Moreland, and what an incredible story he is. In High A Hudson Valley, he was batting .280 with a 1067 OPS in the month of June, and which was good enough to earn him a call up from High A to Double-A Somerset. And anyway, we're gonna also do Scranton and Wilkes-Barre Triple-A. We're gonna do right bullpen relief pitcher Carlos Lagrange. Do 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 do. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, he pitched 2/3 innings with 4 hits, 5 runs, 2 balls or 2 walks. He in 1 ground ball in the loss, and he blew his first save since being in Triple-A. Obviously a bad outing, but it was only 1 blown save, as he's actually been, for the most part, in a small sample size, doing really well in Triple-A with that 103-mile-an-hour fastball and the radar gun in the bullpen.
Good.
Kind of very Aroldis Chapman-like.
Mm-hmm.
There. Oh, and I forgot to I got to share this real quick, Joe. We have a comment from Michael Edwards. He said, "What's up, Jamie and Joe? Thank you for the show, Michael. You always put a smile on our faces, which makes the world a better place, according to Vitamin C. So if you have any more of your comments, keep them coming. We love you, Michael.
We very much appreciate it. Yeah, unfortunately, where the access I have, I can't see the comments, but that's awesome. Thank you."
Mm-hmm. So anyway, now we're gonna do IA Hudson Valley Renegades. And Joe, you know who we're gonna talk about down there, right? Jeff Kent's son, Caden.
Yeah, go for it.
Caden Kent. He was 3 for 3 with a home run, 2 RBIs, and a sac fly. Last year's third rounder has been red hot in June. And then we're going to talk about starting pitcher Franier Herrera. And Joe, it looks like you are going to be waking up in 1975 because he pitched 7 innings, allowing 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, but 8 strikeouts in the win. And he's only 21 years old in
Love it.
in high A. So in game 2, we're going to talk about Ken again, as he was 1 for 4 with an RBI with 2 strikes and a stolen base. Joe, what do you think of Ben Hess's rebuilding his arm back into the pitching into the 5th inning, but he went 4 2/3, and now he has his velocity fastball up to 97 miles an hour, but he's still in Double-A, only continuing to build that velocity with from his injury.
Yeah, and it seems like that's going to continue to happen, and he's going to get more opportunities to grow and to increase that velocity as well. And yeah, what is going on with these pitchers pitching 7 innings in the minor leagues? I strongly encourage it, and that's why these guys can't do it in the major leagues. So build them up, get them to that point. And again, those rule changes you were talking about the last few weeks here maybe can help with that. But yeah, as far as this guy's concerned, I think we're going to continue to see those velocity increases, and that's going to certainly help them progress.
And how about the story of third base prospect Josh Newman, whose historic June in high A earned him a promotion to Double-A Somerset?
Mm-hmm. Well deserved.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're speaking of Luke Weaver, we're going to talk about why the Yankees should bring him back in a trade with the Mets. While the Mets aren't in a good place right now, they do have some talented players they would be willing to ship to try to get some prospects back into their system, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. One of those pieces could bolster the Yankees bullpen, and it happens to be an ex-player, Luke Dream Weaver. The ex-Yankee went to Flushing Meadows on a 2-year offer sheet worth $22 million, which the Yankees failed to match. By bringing Weaver back, the Yankees already know what he brings to the table. And after a new change of scenery and a recovery from injury, he looks like the Luke Weaver in the past. In 34 innings pitched, he has a 2.12 ERA and a 1 WAR, according to Fangraphs. He also has a strikeout to walk ratio of 37-9. That's pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
His 2024 season helped the Yankees get back to the World Series. Currently, Weaver boasts a 2.85 ERA, which is in the 91st percentile, 2.01 strike to balls ratio in the 88th percentile, and a 28% strikeout rate, which is in the 85th percentile. All on a rebuilding team, so that's not bad. 6.8% walk rate, which is in the 76th percentile, and an 87th percentile, 31.8% hard hit rate. All of these numbers should help the Yankees forget about the past and help them go back to the Fall Classic in 2026 should they trade and reunite with Weaver. Joe, why should the Mets just F around and find out here by trading Luke Dream Weaver back to the Yanks?
Yeah, I'm hearing all kinds of rumors about that. And I've seen some recent interviews with Weaver, especially because he's been pitching so well. And I'm starting to realize he's one of the coolest guys in all of baseball. So as much as I would hate to lose him as a Mets fan, I would love to see him succeed somewhere. And talk about a guy who knows how to play in New York. Again, was with a World Series New York team a couple of years ago and had some great, seasons with them. I could see it happening, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Not that the Yankees need any more pitching depth, but why not? Can you ever have too much? I don't think so. So to have somebody like this in the back of your bullpen, especially if he continues to pitch as well as he is, I think that would be a godsend for the Yankees there. And again, why not do it now? Because the guy, again, he's gone 23 innings without giving up a run. He's at his peak this year. People see that. People need a pitcher like that. Why wait till the trade deadline? Just get this done now and get the best return you could possibly get for him. And the Yankees have plenty of guys they can give up for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened at all. I'd probably be surprised if he doesn't get traded. Whether it's the Yankees or not, I guess remains to be seen. But I think that would be a logical choice for both teams as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. How many prospects do you think the Yankees would have to give the Mets for him? I hope not George Lombard Jr.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it depends on the quality of prospects. I mean, if it's a top prospect, obviously, maybe it's just one. If it's some lesser known or potential prospects, maybe 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. But that remains to be seen. Again, it depends on the quality of potential, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next thing. Should the Yankees wait for plan B if there's no trade deal for Skubal? And yes, there is a plan B, Joe. We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So, of course, in an ideal world, the Yankees trade for Detroit Tigers ace Tarik Skubal, and the Yankees would arguably have the best starting pitcher rotation in MLB history. You can just crown them right now with that if that were to happen.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But the reality is Skubal kind of right now hasn't really been the Skubal of the past, even though he's pitching well tonight. He has shown some vulnerability as the Tigers will most likely be sellers at the trade deadline. And also Skubal would only be a rental player for the Yanks. And I think general manager Brian Cashman might not want to trade his top prospects for a guy that's just going to be a rental, amid a potential lockout.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the only reason why they may not do it is because he's a rental. So, but if reality bites and Skubal isn't the guy, then the Yankees' next best thing is Miami Marlins star Sandy Alcantara. They've been trying to go after him for years now, too, and they haven't been able to do it. Mm-hmm. So, but here's why he may be a more realistic opportunity, because the 30-year-old lefty may be a better offer for Cashman, as he may be willing to give up some prospects for a non-rental player without totally mortgaging his future. And I think this is a better, lockout type of move. Why they would go for him. So also Alcantara is in his final year of his extension he signed in 2022, under which he inked over $106 million over 5 years. Alcantara's talent, you'll like this, Joe, how frequently he pitches deep into games. That's why they want him.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep, and he's pitched 6 or more innings in 14 of those games, so that's a good thing.
That's great.
Recently he went 6 2/3 innings of 1 run ball. He had 4 strikeouts and 3 walks, while the Texas Ranger had an average exit velocity of only 87.8 miles per hour off of him. So, Joe, what do you think of the Yankees possibly going for Alcantara as opposed to Skubal, as he would be more cost efficient for Cashman than by going for Skubal on a rental deal?
Yeah, it's again not the easiest decision. I mean, getting Skubal certainly wouldn't be the end of the world for them. But I like what you say, Jamie. I think it makes more sense maybe to get a lesser priced player. Again, the price being money to sign or, what you give up in order to get them. Mm-hmm. So that's something you have to think about. And again, with this starting rotation and how amazing it is, you don't have to go out and get Cy Young to they're not desperate for, a major stud pitcher here because they already have a bunch of them. To get an extremely good pitcher, all right, like Alcantara, I think that would be a smart move, and you wouldn't have to give up enough as much for him. He might even be able, be easier to sign long term as well. So again, if you can make the right deal for Skubal, I'm not saying it would be the worst thing to get him. But you're right. Maybe you can be a little more economical based on the circumstances that they're in, based on what they already have in the rotation, and get somebody who's still going to help them a lot, but maybe wouldn't cost as much.
And what's cool about Alcantara, he just doesn't go deep into games, but he does it with high velocity. Because I think in Miami, he throws like upper 90s to almost 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I think Alcantara's done that. So
right.
What?
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah, but think about it. See, Joe, you said it's still possible that you can have high relievers that go deep into games. He's one of them.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, and how meaningful is it that Alcantara goes deep into games, just like the starting pitchers of the MLB in the past, while maintaining a upper 90s, fastball?
Well, it's great, but it's not a necessity for the Yankees. Again, it would it help? Yes. Do I strongly encourage it? I think you know the answer to that. But with the bullpen that the Yankees have, there's not going to be that much pressure on him to do that, I don't think. Just because if he does struggle or if he has a subpar start, you don't have to push him far into games because you got a great bullpen to back him up. So they're in, a no-lose situation how that's concerned.
Guess what, Joe? It is now that time in our show for our question of the week segment. Would you like to give it a try? We're finally onto this segment after 3 weeks, but it feels like it's been 10 weeks. I'm glad we're back to it. So.
That's it. Maybe a change of location here will change my luck. Let's see.
Okay, Joe. Finally, here's your next Subway Conversation Chat baseball trivia question. Can you guess this MLB player? Who has the most home runs by a Japanese-born player? Is it A, Kosuke Fukudome, B, Shohei Ohtani, C, Ichiro Suzuki, D, Godzilla, Hideki Matsui?
Oh, tough question here. And I don't know if it's a sign, but it's starting to thunder out here. So that either means I'm going to get this right or it means bad things. Let's see. I don't know if we're at this point yet, but I am going to say Ohtani.
You are correct.
Oh, all right.
He has the most on this list. He's the only active player still in the league, but he already has 291 career home runs. Second was Hideki Matsui, who finished with 175.
Okay.
Third was Ichiro Suzuki, who finished with 117, but was also kind of more of a contact hitter, known for contact more than power. But
right.
And last was Kosuke Fukudome with 42. He kind of never really developed into a star. He played for 5 years and he flamed out of the league.
Yeah, I knew those two were eliminated. I mean, as long as Suzuki played and as good as he was, I know he was more of a contact guy. So, but I thought Ohtani was already at the point where he had surpassed those guys. So, All right, very happy that I actually got one right.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, well, looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media world on Tuesday, June 30th, 2026, the last day of June?
Jamie, where in God's name has this year gone? We were talking about this backstage. The year's half over. Can't believe that. Not only the baseball season, but the year in itself. Well, I'm glad that I made it through this entire podcast without cutting out. Hopefully I didn't cut out too much throughout, but thanks for putting up with me if I did. But you could find me on Joe Dell Sports on Twitter, X, and various, this show, of course, and sometimes some other productions as well on this channel.
Yep. And then you can find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, Buffalo Down, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell for all notifications. For more content on Driving to the Top Productions, you can visit us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you get your podcast. For Joe Dalio, this is Jamie Malloy, and we will see you next Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern on the Subway Conversation Chat, only on Driving to the Top Productions. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great week.